So Shannon and I, we're from Hampton Township School District, and we are in Western Pennsylvania. We're both English teachers, and we're both also, we share one full-time instructional coaches position. So we coach part-time and we teach part-time. Our coaching is largely centered around technology and literacy strategies. So we are instructional coaches, not just technology coaches. We also teach a unique course. We do the AP Capstone program at our district. So I teach the AP seminar portion of that, and Shannon teaches the AP research portion of that. And those definitely present some challenges with this remote learning, as you'll hear about as we move forward. Shannon, you want to tell them about the school a little bit? You're muted.
There we go. So like Andy said, we both teach at Hampton High School. We're a mid-sized school, and we were luckily kind of set up to be successful for having to go online really quickly. We are one-to-one, and we had pushed out some instruction and walked both our teachers and our students through what flexible instruction days would look like. So we were prepared for the short-term 1 or 2 online days. Students knew where to access work, and teachers knew how to post work. We were a little bit unusual in that we began our online learning March 17th. So we had a PD day that Friday already scheduled. The students had 1 day off on Monday, and then we started on Tuesday with online work. So we really kind of turned around this whole thing in just a couple days. Our students do 20 minutes of work a day to 30 minutes for each class, and every Wednesday they have a day off to catch up or to meet with teachers, to conference, whatever they might need extra support in. And we are assigning 3rd and 4th quarter grades. So we did not stop grading work for quality throughout this. So that's kind of where we're at generally as a building.
Although our 4th quarter grade it cannot be lower than a 59%. So that's just one thing to know. But yeah, as far as leveraging online tools, I think we were pretty ahead of the curve with that. We've been a Google district for many years. Our teachers, I would say about 75% of them were very familiar with Google Classroom and already using it as a platform, and the other Google tools that go along with it. We don't have any other LMS. We rely heavily on what Google can do for us. So we do use a lot of other tools with our Google Classrooms. And again, I think teachers were pretty familiar with things like especially Nearpod going into this. New things, definitely Flipgrid, Edpuzzle, Padlet, Screencastify was huge, as you're going to hear, and Google Meets were things that we really did need to be there for some support. And we would have every Wednesday when our students were paused, it's also a pause day for teachers to get caught up. So Shannon and I would host coaching drop-in sessions where we would either just share as a group what was working well or any new tips that we had. So it did help us to boost use of those things like Screencastify and Padlet and Nearpod. But so this brings us to the question, we're pushing out all these different tools for online learning. And it was a little hectic at first because using Google Classroom as a platform, it's hard to be clear about the instructions if you're pushing students out to other tools. If you create an assignment that is kind of dynamic and incorporates a lot of these tools, how do we help students to make sense of it? How do we help them to keep it organized? And for ourselves, how do we keep organized of tracking student learning? So that's what we're going to be talking about in this presentation, is some tips that we've learned that help us to do that, but I think more importantly, help our students to make sense of these sometimes dynamic online learning activities.
So the first thing that kind of really shifted my online instruction was going from that daily posting of tons of resources and materials, go to this site and complete this, and then choose 2 of these 5 things to do next, then do this Google form at the end for your learning. And kids were super confused. I was going tons of different places to check work. And what my 10th grade teachers that I work with and I decided to do was use a weekly agenda, either in Google Slides or a Google Doc. And essentially we just took hyperdoc templates that already exist all over the internet and modified them for our students. So we're doing a research unit right now in our 10th grade English class, just to kind of wrap up the year. And I took what were those daily posts, and we were able to just create one Google Doc that we push out on Monday. It's labeled really clearly with what the expectations are each day. And then I know where I'm going to check work, students know where they're going to access work, and we're still able to embed and link a lot of different resources to it. So for Monday, for example, students were able to either watch a video and take notes on a Google Doc of their own, or go and do an earpod that practiced the same skills. It also allowed us to give them lots of choice in their research topics. So, sorry, my computer is very jumpy. They're able to choose kind of where they're at in thinking about a future career for this project. And we just had them highlight right on the document, where are you at with this? So they had that voice in what they wanted to learn about or research that week. And then they were submitting their whole week's work right on this one document. We also used Google Slides in a similar manner. And with the Google Slide or the Google Doc, we just pushed it out in Google Classroom, made a copy for each student, and then they're completing everything right in here. We're embedding videos that they need to watch, or linking to the Nearpod, or linking to a Padlet, for example. And it really, really cut down on questions about where do I go to get this? How do I go to that? And still let us give them that voice and choice throughout the assignment. Do you want to share one of yours and how you used it, Andy?
Yeah, do you want to see if there's any questions about yours before you quit sharing?
Yeah, are there any questions about these? Okay. I'll let you take over.
Okay. Okay, so I'm going to share something that I found useful, especially towards the beginning of our online learning, and that was to use just a Google presentation, similar to the way Shannon showed you with the hyperdocs, but I would create a Google presentation that basically had daily lessons on them, and from that I was able to link a lot of external activities for them. So I tried to keep it very consistent, and I do have a template of this which I will share. So at the beginning, these are all linked, so if they want to know the work to Monday, they can click on the link, which will take them to Monday's work. And then I tried to have very consistent slides that showed very clear-cut steps of what they would need to complete for that day. And then moving on, I could link, like here is a Flipgrid link, and it links right out to Flipgrid right from the Google presentation. So it did help them, I think, to keep organized. Everything was in one place. The hyperdoc, they could follow. All they had to do was continue to click next until, you can see there's a video embedded in there. Instructions about how to post to Google Classroom, because I did use that as well. And another Flipgrid to visit. And then every day there is a finish line. So they just basically flipped through the presentation, did the activities until they got to the finish line. And I did hear from some of my students that it was one of the easiest classes that they had as far as keeping organized. And I teach 9th graders who struggle a good bit. I teach a reading supported 9th grade class. So it was good to hear from them that they liked this format. So I did stick with that for most of my lessons early on. They got a little more complex as we moved on.
Andy, real quick, someone wrote, she came in 3 minutes late due to finishing up class. How do you insert a hyperdoc?
So a hyperdoc is just kind of like a fancy term that's like in education speak right now. That's just ours are just a Google slide or a Google Doc that have kind of those different headings, and then all the tools that you would use, any website you want the kids to visit, any video or any outside tools embedded right in them. So hyperdoc is just kind of the term for the whole presentation or the whole document that the student is working on. At the end of our presentation, we have some links to hyperdoc templates that are already out on the internet that we've been using to kind of just adapt to our uses.
Can you explain for a second about what is Flipgrid?
Sure. Flipgrid is it's a tool that allows students to create videos very quickly and easy right from there. And I can show that to you. Shannon, if you can,
yep.
You're sharing now, if you want to. So again, the benefit of having this is I'm using an external source, but it's just linked right from the Google presentation. So this will take them to their Flipgrid. And Flipgrid is just a way for students to just post quick video responses to something. So there you can see I made the initial response. I have a video there that just tells them something good. This was very early on in our remote learning, so I just wanted to use it as a way to touch base with them. And then down below, you can see that they have their responses in there as well. So, and they can see each other's, they can comment on them. It's very quick and very easy way to do just a quick video response or a chat. So that's what Flipgrid is. My teachers loved it. When we first started this remote learning, I sent one out to them and had all the teachers in the building do one. And it was just a great way to kind of get them used to using the tool and to see how quick and easy it was just to send a video response. And they can do audio responses or text responses as well. They don't have to do a video response if they choose not to. Okay, anything else? Shannon, you want to take over from there?
Sure. So Flipgrid is not part of Google Classroom. It's an external website, but that's kind of that advantage, like Andy said, you can just link right to your website. And yeah, they do have privacy settings, so you can set it up so only people within your domain can access it. And you can also create a password if you want it to be password protected on top of that. So when we use it, we have students, they just use the login with Google button so that they're logged in with our school. They're at Hampton Talbot's email address.
And you can manage the settings so that their comments are disabled. I have a very small class, so it's easy for me to manage those comments, and I can get a notification. And I haven't had any problems with it. I can see with a larger class how you would definitely want to control those settings a little bit more, and at least be able to approve any comments before they get posted.
Okay, so moving on, our next tip that we found really successful in terms of keeping students organized and cutting down on not doing work because they couldn't find it or they weren't sure is using screencasts to just walk them through the daily directions or the activities for that day. So if you see on the side of your screen, even our what didn't work portion of this, that's written in text, it's easy just to kind of glaze over it. And we found kids were doing just the exact same thing. They weren't reading the directions, particularly if it was a really long post in Google Classroom telling them first do this, then click this link, then log in like this. So we started just using the Google Chrome add-on, Screencastify, to record ourselves walking through the day's activities. So they're short, they're just a couple minutes long. It's not even any type of a lecture, it's not any teaching of new content, but it's just a quick way to walk them through what we expect them to do that day, and to kind of show them what they're actually going to see as they do the activity. So that really, really helped to keep the kids focused and organized. We have some examples in our presentation, but I think, Andy, maybe we'll come back to those if we have time. But
you could, it might be beneficial to see one. If the one I have has my video in the side, which is always kind of just nice to see how that works. If you want to, you don't have access, but
you're gonna have to play it.
Yep.
Sorry, we'll bump back over to you.
So I can show you a quick example of that. It'll also show you how I'm using Google Docs or Google Slides to create presentations. Oops.
Good morning, guys. I hope you guys are doing well. We made it through to another Friday. It's hard to believe how fast our weeks are flying. I wanted to go over today's assignment. Today we're going to be looking a little closer at some of the characters in your novel, and in particular how they are influencing your main character. So I wanted to walk through what it is you're going to be doing today. So you'll see in the Google Classroom that there is a Google slideshow for you to go through. Each of you have your own. So what you're going to do is basically we're going to be looking at the key characters and who is impacting the story and how. The first thing you're going to do is we're going to review this definition of a protagonist. I'm sure you guys know what a protagonist is, the main character of a story. I want you to think about that, sometimes they're considered the hero of the story, and they're almost always someone that we are rooting for because we care about them. That's kind of an important quality of a protagonist. So that's what I want to know first, is you're going to complete this little section here. Who is the protagonist of your novel? And write at least 3 lines to describe what makes us want to root for them. So, what about them do we like as a main character? And your main characters are also pictured there. Of course, these are from the movies. The books, one thing about a book is it gives you a lot more detail about the character. So I want to know who your protagonist is and 3 lines that makes us root for them. The next thing you're going to do is I want you to think about other characters. And again, like our emphasis this year has been, I want you to think about this is what good readers do when they read, or even if they watch a movie. They think about these other characters and how they impact that protagonist. And that's
all right. So anyway, you can see, how I do use that Screencastify. It's great because it's real easy. You can record with your little video there in the side. You saw my face there. I think that's important for students to see your face. But it helped me to walk through the assignment for them. And again, you can see how I used Google Slideshow there. Each student had their own slideshow in that case. And there were places that I wanted them to write. I had a little matching exercise I did with them on there. So it needed a little bit of explanation. So we found that very useful. And Screencastify gave away free teacher accounts this once remote learning started, which has been very, very helpful because they give you full access to their tools. And it is just a Google add-on, so it's quite easy to use.
Yeah, one advantage about Screencastify is that if you are a Google school or you've used Google Drive already, the videos, as soon as you record them, they upload right to your Drive. So like some other tools, you're not waiting for it to download to your computer and then you have to upload it to the Drive and wait till it processes. It takes just a few minutes to have your video ready to go. So if you haven't tried that, we definitely would recommend it. So moving on to our next tip. We have also, in some of our classes, particularly our Capstone classes, because students work really independently in the spring, even when we're in school together, is setting up cohorts. So right at the beginning of remote learning, we had students in these classes, we put them in small groups, and those were their go-to people for essentially the rest of the year. In my class, Andy, I'm not sure if you switched yours up as we went. And having that small group where they were familiar with each other's work and what they were doing really helped. So for this class, I grouped them. They have access to each other's papers or works. So I just have a spreadsheet where it has the student's name and a link to their work. And then because they were working with these groups each time, they set up editing schedules for themselves, where they figured out for this round of editing who wanted to look at whose paper, how they were going to keep that organized. And then they were able to work from this same presentation document each time we had rounds of editing. And setting up these groups in the beginning was really, really great. I noticed were leaving comments and started reaching out to each other just for questions that they had or work that they needed as they were going. Particularly in my AP research class, their final product is like a 30-page paper. So it really helped them to have other kids who were familiar with their work as they went. And then, do you want to talk about how you use the breakout rooms, Andy?
Sure. So one of the things about these AP Capstone courses is students, we are not allowed to provide feedback on student writing at this stage of the game, which has been very challenging. And in class, of course, we can do peer editing sessions quite frequently. So that's the way I've been using it. I'm trying to get back to where we were. There it is. So I have been doing similar to what Shannon has been. I set up cohorts with my students, and they are doing something very similar, but every day, like we've had several peer editing sessions, and I have a different task for them during each session, and it's kind of slow to load right here, but I will post the assignment in the morning. Again, they have a very familiar group of students that they're working with. Mine are just with 3 people. So this was the last one that I did right here. They were reviewing each other's introductions. So they have the directions there, but I found it very effective to use Zoom as well for this. So I post those instructions and then we host a Zoom meeting. And in Zoom, you can do breakout rooms, which has been awesome because I bring all of the students together, and this is a class which is about there's 12 people in this class, so it's, again, a small class. And we all join the same meeting like we're in right now, and then as a moderator, I can create breakout rooms. So I put them into separate rooms with their cohorts and give them about 20 minutes to work on the peer editing assignment. And they can talk to each other during that, which has been very helpful. And I can check into those rooms. I can flip back and forth between them just to kind of moderate them and make sure that they're on task and see if they have any questions. And it works very, very seamlessly. And then I can call them all back at the end of the meeting and we can reconvene for a bit, take some general questions and then close it out. But I found that these peer cohorts have worked very well with the breakout rooms. And I'll have some students that don't join, so they have to do these cohorts on their own, and they've been pretty good about it. And those I can check with the Google comments that they leave to make sure that they are reviewing each other's work. But it's worked very well with this, since we are not, in this course, teachers are not allowed to give them feedback on their writing, and they do submit 2 research papers to the AP digital portfolio, and they have to do that solely relying on peer feedback.
Okay. So kind of just our lessons learned to wrap things up. Using our Google Classroom and using Google Slides or Google Docs to hold everything for the week is something that's been really great for us. The idea of video instructions, so you're not just pushing out a huge document with lots of directions for the kids because they don't tend to read it. And then just really keeping the student perspective in mind. If you're having them use something new in terms of technology tools, show them how to use it. And then we've also been trying to be really conscious of if we're asking them to engage with something new or try something different, to take that time off of their class time or their work time for the day. So we wouldn't want to give them like a tool that takes them 10 minutes just to figure out how to get logged in, and then also give them 40 minutes like a video to watch or something on top of that. Yeah, and we've had a lot of success in kind of just building from what we already had and adapting it to our online environment. So we have some templates to a lot of the tools we talked about: hyperdocs, Google Slides, and a how-to with Screencastify for you all.
Yeah, I'm sharing a couple of those links now as well, but yeah, they're all linked off of the presentation as well. Someone had asked for the templates. Did someone want to see the daily learning plan, remote learning plan template as well? I think the one that our district provides. Yes. I'll share that as well.
Yeah, and so while Andy's sharing those, since we kind of have this dual role as we have our own classrooms that we teach, and then we're also coaches and instructional technology coaches, we've been really thinking about should or if this continues into the fall, or if we have to do some type of online learning again in the future, really thinking about how we can streamline and choose the best tools. So do we need 5 different tools where students can organize or record a video of themselves doing something? And then templates like the hyperdoc templates, so that we can make it a little bit more streamlined, that students are seeing similar formatting across their classes, cut down on the confusion. And then we just want to consider how we can keep doing best practice sharing kind of like this, but with our colleagues, so that we can all work together.